Hello everybody. As should be abundantly clear by now, I am a proud Wurt main. This comes with several blessings and curses, but the one we're going to be talking about today is what Wurt is. Diseased probably, but I mean more so in a lore position. If you want to know what she is from a gameplay perspective, then here. But on topic. What exactly is this child doing buddying up with the other survivors, whereas other Merms are simple, faceless soldiers? How come Charlie hunts her in the darkness, but not the other of her kind? And what about the biggest question I keep hearing? Is Wurt a former goat person from the Gorge? Or worse yet, a Pigman? Let's find out, shall we? To start, let's look at her origins. She was added back in 2019 as a DLC survivor, around when Clay was still doing those. Her debut was during the Monster Mash animated short, where she's seen rocking about with the other Merms as the other survivors proceed to get killed. Fun! This animated short doesn't really answer many questions on how she got here, why she's here, and when she got here, but it does showcase her first encounter with the survivors, in a blink and you'll miss it kind of detail. During this exact moment before Weber gets utterly pulverized by a tentacle, we've all been there buddy, it's okay, you can see him notice Wurt, looking straight at her. This is most likely the first time any of the proper survivors noticed her. My theory on this chain of events? Weber, after he respawned at the camp, found another survivor, probably Wickerbottom or something, and told her that he saw a Merm reading a book. A level of intellect not seen in any creature in the Constant, or most survivors even. So either by herself or with the aid of some other survivors, Wickerbottom set out to the marshes once more to find this mysterious Merm and what her deal was. Much to her luck, she found this Merm, and through clever coercion with sweeties and books, was able to somehow build rapport with her, and the rest was history. Wurt would eventually warm up to the survivors through Wickerbottom, offering to join them and aid them in their efforts of survival in this harsh, known world, lending the survivors the powers of monarchy, diplomacy, and mosquito hand grenades to help fight ancient celestial gods. Now let's look at some of the problems and counterpoints with this whole ordeal. Firstly, ain't Merms aggressive, Ash? Why didn't Wurt attack the survivors like she did in the animated short? Well, that's because she wasn't attacking the survivors in the animated short with the Merms. She was just, having a good time hanging out with them. Seriously, look at this creature. Not a violent care in the world. She just wants to know what the commotion's all about. And something to keep in mind about Merms is that they are not aggressive, per se. They are territorial. They only attack you if you encroach on their land or too far near their houses. Otherwise, they're almost neutral. Almost. So the Merms attacking in the animated short were not doing it out of hatred, but more so to drive away the survivors from their territory. As for Wurt, she's probably too young to understand the importance of why Merms are so territorial, and has had no reason to fear humans yet. Simple case of how hatred is taught, not hereditary. With this blissful ignorance in mind, she never set up any walls against the survivors interacting and communicating with her. So that probably explains why Wurt doesn't hate humans just yet. Don't worry, she was already told to hate Pigmen though. But there's still some other problems here. How come Wurt was able to survive in the dark, all on her own, before she became a survivor? In the animated short we just talked about, we can see this silly little creature happily reading a book in the middle of the night. Fun fact by the way, Wurt originally had quotes implying that she could see in the dark, but had them removed since it caused confusion as to why Charlie would still be able to get you. Well, it's time for even more ridiculous theories. Wurt just wasn't important yet. In the grandest scheme of things, to Charlie, heck to even the gods of the Constant themselves, this oddly shaped Merm was nothing more than a creature that pranced around its marshes. They kept to themselves just like all the other Merms did. But it wasn't until she made contact with the survivors and eventually established herself among one of their ranks did she have all eyes literally on her. She went from creature to survivor. Her impact on the main goals of both Charlie and Wagstaff made her infinitely more important than what she was before, which then painted the target for Night Monster Charlie, as well as the gifts of Shadow Queen Charlie, like respawning at the Florid Postern and gaining cool new gifts in the form of outfits. Thanks, Charlie. though the reasons could also be as simple as gameplay mechanics, or maybe even Wurt didn't exist in the world of Don't Starve until this animated short. It's difficult to parse, but important to remember that sometimes there can be a stark difference between canon lore and stuff that's in the game for simple gameplay reasons. This is a video game first and foremost. How do merms appear in their houses? Is there like a mini Florida Boston in there? Who knows? But let's circle back to the whole Wurt becoming important bit again. Something really key to keep in mind is that due to Wurt's insight tree, we can see that she gets powers directly from Tenebrow and Alta. Most other survivors receive blessings from the Shadow Queen or the Cryptic Founder, whereas Wurt makes no mention of either such patron, alluding to her powers being straight from the source, giving credence to the whole she's been seen as way more important by the constant itself theory that I presented. So that's why I feel Wurt is special. She's a young merm that was able to find allegiance among the survivors thanks to simply not knowing that humans could be dangerous, and with probable thanks to Wickerbottom, was able to use her squishy, fresh brain to use and learn amazing things like almost English and fire. Yay! But there's still another massive question that needs answering. Why does Wurt look like this? Why is she special among the other merms? Why do we never see any other merm look like this? Or any other young merms for that matter? Well, probably gameplay reasons that Wurt is a child, since an adult merm looks like a homunculus and would be really difficult to rig with typical survivor animations. But besides that plausible reasoning, why her over the other merms? Let's look into that. Oh, and let's also look into the whole goat stuff, I suppose. I should have mentioned that sooner, huh? So, the Gorge. The limited time event from many months gone by. In this mode, you were presented with a unique challenge where you had to cook things in a time limit imposed by this giant ravenous maw in the sky called the Gnaw. In this magical new area, you'd find odd-looking goat creatures, as well as these odd-looking pig creatures, as well as these merms. You see, the maw has to be tithed with offerings of food, or else it turns the poor denizens of this quagmire into merms. That includes you, by the way. As we can see by Mumsy slowly growing scales and the ruined state of this place, the population is slowly being turned into merms. Does this mean that all merms we see in the Constant are former goat people? Their ruined houses, their marshes, the remains of a prosperous society of goat folk who succumbed to a merm curse? Probably, yeah, maybe? Some of the merms you see in-game do have names like Florp, Gurt, and all such pleasant wet names, but also you can occasionally get names like Penelope and Jeffrey, more civilized names, as if the ones held by a posh gothic race of goat people. Or maybe even a different type of people, but we'll get to that in a bit. Maxwell even says that merms were there long before he arrived, so these creatures and whatever their progenitors may be are long before his time. So does this mean that Wurt used to be a goat child, but was cursed by the Gnaw to take on this new horrific form? Well, it's time for one of Ash's stupid theories. But no, I don't think Wurt used to be a goat. I personally believe that she is a first generation of merm. A merm that was born as a merm, and not as a goat. Let's go over my reasoning, shall we? First of all, Wurt doesn't know who these goats are. You can never actually play the Gorge officially as Wurt since she was added long after it was sunsetted, but she does have quotes for all of the NPCs and stuff found there. Why? I don't know. Clay liked doing that, but she has nothing special to say about them. No, oh my gosh, I used to look like that. Just a case of saying the goats look strange and the merms look normal. This doesn't necessarily mean anything, because it's possible that the whole mermification wipes your memory into making you think you were always a merm. But this also carries over to my next piece of reasoning. Wurt's intelligence. I know it's hard to debate that Wurt may have any level of intellect at all, but we gotta keep in mind that this child, however old she may be, is smarter than all of the other merms found in the game. She can speak both merm and English, has critical thinking skills, is able to construct and utilize tools, other merms can use tools as well, but only thanks to Wurt teaching them, and is even able to read. Only like 2 other survivors can read. That's a pretty high level of intelligence from what is the equivalent of walking pond scum, I love you Wurt. So with all that said, how is Wurt smarter than the other Merms? Is it a simple case of she's young and was able to be taught these things by Wickerbottom? Or is it a case of she never underwent mermification? She never had her body and mind violently altered by the Gnaw, leaving her mind fresh, so to speak. If, like I said earlier, becoming a Merm devolves you into a freakish primitive creature, then what would happen if that creature was birthed into this world naturally? Maybe it's the secret to Wurt's heightened level of knowledge. But I got two more excuses up my sleeve. The first is that when the children characters get mermified by the Gnaw in the Gorge, they turn into full-sized Merms, not Wurt-sized Merms. Though this be almost definitely gameplay reasons. Most likely this is since Wurt was just a twinkle in Clay's eyes when the Gorge was being made. Would have been super weird if the kid characters just turned into a character that wasn't even revealed yet. The second reason, her name is just Wurt. If she was a goat person, I imagine her name would have been like a Winelope or something. Though this proves nothing since we have both real named Merms and silly named Merms found in the constant proper. It was worth bringing up though. However, there is one thing I want to bring up. I alluded to it in the intro, but what if Wurt wasn't a goat person or even a Merm to begin with? You see, in the Gorge, everyone turns into a Merm if they fail. Humans, robots, goats, even the Pigman Elder himself. What if Wurt's origins wasn't one of a goat, but instead something that we already see in the constant? What if Wurt descended from a Pigman? Sacrilege, I know, but let's think about it for a bit. Do you see any goat people walking around the constant proper? None at all, except their milkable electric cousins. But what do you see? Pigmen, and their houses. Let's look at the Merm houses you can find in the game. They look nothing like the run-down, dilapidated Goatman houses we find in the Gorge. They more so resemble Pigman houses. Run-down Pigman houses. Almost as if these used to be the same houses Pigmen lived in. However, Maxwell does say that the Merms copied the Pigmen, so it could be a simple case of them reusing their designs. The Merms, not Clay, though both could be true. However, one last piece of evidence towards this crackpot theory. You remember that one Tales from the Constant animated short that showed the Merm and the Pigman falling in love after falling to their demise? Well, if you explore the caves nowadays, you may come across this. Two hunchback skeletons, with a little bit of silk next to them, clearly meant to resemble the two from the same animated short. But notice how their skeletons are the same. Could their similar skeletal structure simply mean that the Merms are a devolved Pigman? Or do the rules of skeletonology simply not apply to the constant? Since if we ride off that truth, then Wurt must secretly be a human since her skeleton is the same as all the other human survivors, as well as Wartox, and WX. My new crack theory, Wurt and Wartox used to originally be humans! Actually, hang on a minute, that holds ground, let me write that down. Anyway, the reason the two had the same skeleton was probably to show on the inside that we're all the same, and love is skin deep, or whatever. But how did the curse even get here? The Gnaw is never actually seen in the constant proper, only the quagmire where the Gorge takes place. Is the Gnaw able to corrupt from realms over? Did the Merms somehow slip through the gateway long, long ago? Or is it a simple case of all of these Merms originally being Merms, and the Gnaw using these guys as a template for the curse found in the Gorge? Maybe there is no curse in this constant, and it's as simple as Wurt being special since she's a young, aspiring Merm who's had the right support group. And all the other Merms we see stomping around? Just simple Merms who never had the chance to blossom. But we are forgetting one thing. A very important thing quite a few of you may have noticed that I glossed over. You remember this guy from the Gorge? He has a very special quote that leads credence to a very popular theory. He says that many of our sick disappeared into the sea. Odd, that. Which could mean that the Merms we see in the constant are just ones that swam here from the quagmire. Possible? Absolutely. Wurt can swim, kinda, so it's not too far-fetched to imagine that all Merms could have just swam here, somehow crossing over the evil dark ocean that surrounded the world, and proves everything that I said wrong. Always likely. Overall, with her high level of intellect, her trusting nature, her unique appearance and even name, I'm a firm believer of. Wurt is a firstborn Merm and was never originally a goat person. The Victorian skin is not canon, that's just a reference despite it looking super cute. Remember, skins are not indicative of canon, because if that was the case, Wurt used to be a shrimp. Oh, and also, she may or may not have been a pigman or a human. But do let me know which theory you believe. Are you Team Goat or Team Merm? If you're Team Pigman, don't leave a comment. Either way, who she was doesn't matter anymore, because now she's one of the strongest darn assets the survivors have at their disposal, and the exact reason, like I mentioned earlier, why Charlie, Wagstaff, Tenerbrow and Alter have their eyes on her. Totally not gameplay reasons, nuh-uh. I love Wurt. She's been my main since day one of her dropping, and still to this very day. No matter what she may or may not have been, she'll still be my green diseased blimp despite all that. But that's where this video ends for today. I hope you enjoyed hearing my rambling crackpot theories on what I think Wurt is and why she's so special. Let me know what you think and if you want me to look into other characters' histories and importance. Take care everybody and have a lovely day. Bye bye.